The bloodline is dead. And it's all because of the most disgusting, most cowardly, most unforgivable act of betrayal we've ever witnessed. Jimmy Uso just stabbed his own brother in the back, and Centimeter Punk walked out as the new World Heavyweight Champion because of it. This wasn't just a betrayal, this was family destruction at the highest level, and what makes this infuriating is that Jey Uso had finally broken free from Roman's shadow, had finally earned the respect he deserved, and was this close to capturing his first World Championship. But Jimmy, his own twin brother, decided that jealousy was more important than blood, and now the entire wrestling world is watching the Uso brotherhood crumble in the most heartbreaking way possible. You want to know what's making fans absolutely furious right now? It's not just that Jimmy cost you the championship. It's not just that Centimeter Punk, who didn't even earn this opportunity through traditional means, now holds the most prestigious title in WWE. It's that Jimmy stood there after destroying his brother's dreams with a smirk on his face, acting like he did nothing wrong, like he was justified in ripping Jey's heart out in front of millions of people. The audacity, the nerve, the absolute disrespect of what Jimmy just did is sending shockwaves through every wrestling fan who's ever believed in the power of family. Let me take you through exactly what happened at this main event, because if you missed this, you missed one of the most shocking moments in WWE history. Jey Uso vs Centimeter Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship. The stakes couldn't have been higher. Jey had fought tooth and nail to get this opportunity. He'd overcome his toxic relationship with Roman Reigns, he'd proven himself as a singles competitor, and he'd earned the respect of every fan who watched him transform from Roman's lapdog into a bona fide main event star. This was supposed to be his moment. This was supposed to be the night that Jey Uso finally proved that he could stand on his own, that he could reach the mountaintop without Roman, without the bloodline, and show the world that he was championship material. The match was absolutely incredible. Jey and Punk went back and forth for over 30 minutes, delivering move after move, near fall after near fall, and the crowd was on their feet the entire time. Jey hit his signature superkicks, he connected with devastating splashes from the top rope, and Centimeter Punk was on the verge of defeat multiple times. You could see it in Punk's eyes, he was struggling, he was desperate, and Jey Uso was moments away from achieving the greatest victory of his entire career. And then Jimmy Uso's music hit. The arena exploded because everyone, and I mean everyone, thought Jimmy was coming out to support his twin brother. They thought Jimmy was there to have Jey's back, to ensure that nothing and no one would stop Jey from capturing that World Heavyweight Championship. The commentators were calling it a family reunion, fans were chanting USO, 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 and even Jey, exhausted in the ring, looked toward the entrance ramp with what seemed like relief and gratitude. His brother was here. His twin was here to witness the biggest moment of his life. Drop in the comments right now, did you have any suspicion that Jimmy was going to betray Jey, or did this blindside you completely? But here's where everything went horrifically wrong. Jimmy walked down that ramp slowly, too slowly. There was something in his body language that should have been a warning sign. He wasn't rushing to help. He wasn't showing the urgency you'd expect from someone trying to support their brother in the biggest match of their life. He climbed onto the apron, locked eyes with Jey, and for just a split second, you could see the confusion on Jey's face. Something was off. Something was very, very wrong. Centimeter Punk was down in the corner, seemingly out of the equation for the moment. Jey turned his attention back to his opponent, ready to deliver the final blow that would win him the championship. He climbed to the top rope, the crowd was chanting his name, and this was this was the moment Jey Uso would become World Heavyweight Champion. But as Jey positioned himself for that final splash, Jimmy grabbed the referee and started arguing about some phantom rule violation, distracting the official at the worst possible moment. Jey, confused but still focused, launched himself through the air with a picture-perfect splash onto Centimeter Punk. The impact was devastating. Punk was done. Jey hooked the leg for what should have been the 3 count, what should have been the championship-winning pin, but the referee was still distracted by Jimmy. Jey was screaming at the referee to turn around, the crowd was screaming, the entire arena was in chaos, and those precious seconds gave Centimeter Punk just enough time to recover. But it gets worse, so much worse. When Jey finally got the referee's attention and went for another pin attempt, Jimmy slid into the ring, and what happened next is going to haunt Jey Uso for the rest of his life. Jimmy grabbed his own twin brother, pulled him away from the pin, and hit him with a superkick so vicious, so brutal, so filled with hatred that Jey was knocked completely unconscious. The arena went silent. You could hear a pin drop. Nobody could believe what they just witnessed. Jimmy stood over his brother's unconscious body, looked down at him with disgust, and then dragged Centimeter Punk's lifeless body on top of Jey. The referee, confused and just doing his job, counted the 3, 1, 2, 3. Centimeter Punk retained the World Heavyweight Championship, but he didn't win that match. Jimmy Uso gave it to him by destroying his own brother. Comment below, what punishment does Jimmy Uso deserve for what he just did to his own twin brother? The aftermath was even more devastating. Centimeter Punk rolled out of the ring, clutching the championship belt, barely able to stand but wearing a confused smile because he knew he didn't really win, he just got the luckiest break of his entire career. But the real story was happening in that ring. Jimmy stood there, staring down at his unconscious brother, and instead of showing any remorse, instead of showing any regret for what he'd just done, he spit on G. He actually spit on his own twin brother and then grabbed the microphone. What Jimmy said next is going to make your blood boil. He looked directly into the camera and said, "This is what you get, G. This is what you get for thinking you could be better than me. 4 years, I stood in your shadow. 4 years, I watched you get all the attention, all the love from the fans, all the opportunities while I was just the other Uso. Well, not anymore. You wanted to be a single star? You wanted to break away from the bloodline and make your own legacy? I just made sure that legacy will be built on failure and humiliation. You're not championship material, G. You never were, and tonight, I proved it to the entire world." The arrogance, the jealousy, the pure venom in Jimmy's words revealed the truth that nobody wanted to admit. Jimmy Uso has been harboring resentment against his twin brother for years, and he finally let that poison consume him and destroy the most sacred bond in wrestling, the bond between brothers, between twins. Let's talk about the psychological warfare Jimmy just unleashed, because this goes so much deeper than just costing G a championship. Jimmy attacked G's confidence, his self-worth, his belief that he could succeed on his own. After everything G went through with Roman Reigns, the manipulation, the abuse, the constant belittling, he finally found the courage to stand on his own 2 feet. He finally believed in himself. And just when G was about to prove all his doubters wrong, just when he was about to show the world that he was more than just one of the Usos, his own twin brother ripped that dream away from him in the cruelest way imaginable. Think about the timing of this betrayal. G had the match won. He had done everything right. He'd outperformed Centimeter Punk, he'd connected with every single move in his arsenal, and he'd earned that championship through his own skill and determination. But Jimmy couldn't let that happen. Jimmy couldn't allow G to succeed where he himself had failed. Because let's be honest about something, Jimmy Uso has never been able to achieve single success the way G has. Jimmy has always been the one living in the shadows, and instead of being happy for his brother's success, instead of supporting G and celebrating his achievements, Jimmy let jealousy turn him into a monster. Be honest in the comments, have you ever seen a more personal, more disgusting betrayal in WWE history than what Jimmy just did? Now let's address the Centimeter Punk situation, because he's now the World Heavyweight Champion despite not really winning that match. Punk has to know, deep in his heart, that he didn't earn this victory. He was moments away from losing his championship to G Uso. But here's what makes this complicated, Punk didn't ask for Jimmy's interference. He didn't orchestrate this betrayal. He's just the beneficiary of family drama exploding at the worst possible moment. But that doesn't change the fact that G Uso deserves a rematch, deserves another opportunity, and deserves justice for what was stolen from him. The wrestling community is divided right now over what should happen next. Some fans are demanding that WWE reverse the decision and give G the championship he rightfully earned. Others are calling for an immediate rematch where Jimmy is banned from ringside. But here's what everyone agrees on, Jimmy Uso just committed the most unforgivable act in wrestling history, and he needs to pay for what he's done. What makes this betrayal even more heartbreaking is the history between these brothers. Jimmy and G aren't just brothers, they are twins. They've been together since birth. They've tag-teamed together for over a decade, winning multiple championships and creating legendary moments. They've been through wars together, celebrated victories together, and suffered defeats together. The bond between twins is supposed to be unbreakable, stronger than any other relationship in the world. But Jimmy just shattered that bond for what? Jealousy? Ego? The inability to accept that his brother was about to achieve something he never could? Here's what I think needs to happen next, and WWE better be listening. G Uso deserves his one-on-one match with Jimmy, not for a championship, not for career implications, but for pride, for family, for the right to look his brother in the eye and make him pay for the betrayal. This needs to be personal, it needs to be brutal, and it needs to give G the closure and revenge that every fan is demanding right now. Share this video with every wrestling fan who's as outraged as you are. Drop your comments about what punishment Jimmy deserves, whether G should get another title shot, and how WWE should handle this explosive situation. The Uso Brotherhood is dead, Centimeter Punk is champion under controversial circumstances, and Jey Uso's heart is broken. This is the beginning of the most personal feud WWE has seen in years, and nobody is ready for the chaos that's about to unfold.